Welcome to the SJ Child Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Join the International Autism Summit 2024 and support World Autism Awareness Day. Hey everyone, on April 2nd, we celebrate World Autism Awareness Day, a global initiative to promote understanding, acceptance, and inclusion of individuals in the autistic community. To mark this special occasion, we're thrilled to announce a one-day sale for tickets to the highly anticipated International Autism Summit 2024, April 19th and 20th. Don't miss this one-day only sale, April 2nd, 2024, World Autism Awareness Day. Hello and welcome to the SJ Child Show. It's so exciting today to have Michelle back. I'm so grateful for the times that we've been able to get together. I think you've been in every single summit or event that I've had. Were you even in the safety summit possibly? That might have been the only one you missed.
The safety summit, yeah, I was in that one. That was the same day as my graduation from college.
That's right. I knew that there was something. Oh my gosh. No, you are amazing. And the, just level of passion that you put into your life and your experience and sharing that. I'm so grateful for you. So thanks for coming back. And I'm excited to hear what is going on and what you've been doing since graduation. Let's start there, I suppose. Well, let's start for anybody that's listening to Michelle for the first time. Give us an introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So for those who don't know me, my name is Michelle Vinokurov. I'm an autistic self-advocate. I was diagnosed with autism around the age of 2. It was the same year that my younger brother was going to be born. Funny story with that, but yeah. And then from there, my parents found out my diagnosis very early on in life because they saw that I was developmentally behind compared to my older sister. So that's where they kind of figured out that that I needed to get more supports in place. And then now here we are today. I graduated from Purdue University Global just almost 2 years ago already. And fast forward in time now, I work as a behavior specialist for the public school district here in Florida that I'm at. And I also work with Full Spectrum ABA as an RBT and also other roles with them. I have like a bunch of side roles with them because I have like a huge partnership with them. And then I also run a blog website known as the World of Autism. If you haven't checked that out yet, make sure to check it out. Go and follow for great content that I got on there as well.
Yeah, and we'll definitely put those links in there so that people can go check that blog out and everything and support your website and everything. And oh my gosh, all of these exciting changes for you. And what have you like inside? What has it felt like for you to kind of be able to take this new step in all of these advocacy roles?
So for me, the purpose of like everything that I do is pretty much to help people. I always was given so much in my life especially in the beginning of my life. Like I received a lot of services and that's to thank my family for that because of how much that they were always there for me growing up and everything. And so now I am giving back into the community by doing everything that I do career-wise, as well as even volunteering. A huge update that I have actually from this year is that I am a autistic ambassador for Flutie Foundation, and I'm also a board member for CARD USF. It's an autism organization in Florida. So I got a lot of exciting stuff happening that has broadened my my resources out, like not just for students, but it's also for families, professionals, teachers, therapists, you name it. So I've had a lot going on, especially this year alone.
That's amazing. And I really love the Flutie Foundation. I think that they just do so many amazing events. They include so many people in their organization and in their events and everything. I love to see that. And CARD is wonderful too. You know, Dr. Grandchape just recently came back, if you will, to be the president again, and she had, you know, left for quite some time and things had changed. And so how do you feel about that? How do you see, are there changes that have already been put into place, or what are your experiences with that?
So I just joined the board as of only like a couple of months ago, really. So what's happened now is that through the board, actually because of me, now the board is now filled up. 50% of the board has autistic self advocates on it alone. Then it's huge because like we have on the board autistic advocates that are coming from different counties within Florida. I am the first one that's representing for Manatee, Sarasota, so it's really exciting. I there's just like there's different people that are representing from different places, and it just really broadens like the resources that the organization can bring to the communities and everything. So it's really important about that. And I know with Card Alone that they've been doing a lot of updates to the organization itself, as it now has reached like 30 years that the organization has existed. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of updates that are happening. There are events that are happening even throughout for April, as we know that April's World Autism Month. So definitely stay tuned for that as well.
Absolutely. Lots of exciting things coming up in April.
Mhm.
One big exciting event I cannot wait for myself that you are going to be a part of, the International Autism Summit. Wow. Like, just to even imagine and think that I can sit in my home office and reach people around the world and they'll volunteer to come with us on this expedition, if you will, to really change the idea of autism, especially autistic women. You know, what are some, kind of throw an interesting question into the mix? What are some possible traits that you might say that you think you have that differentiate from what people find like a cis male, you know, kind of projection looks like, as far as what does that look like for you, like especially now as an adult woman?
So for me, like, I'll just say from like, I'll start off when I was younger to now. So when I was younger, I actually had a lot of communication issues that to the point I didn't even have any verbal language. So back then, this was like in the early 2000s, it was like non-existent to for what like for women that are on the spectrum to have those kind of challenges at that early on in age. And I think that a lot of it was missed, that people don't see that much because they think that it's more observable in boys than it is in girls, but that's not true. I think it's more of like a perception of like with different genders and everything. But yeah, I that's one thing. And then also now, like as an adult today, that um definitely that women with autism are not getting as much supports as there should be in place. Like I'll give a good example of an experience I had through my job right now. That when I was starting off my job, um, I started it last January, and I was actually struggling in the beginning because of the fact that like I've had people like misunderstand what I would talk, like the way that I was supporting basically for a classroom. Like if I was coming to visit, that they've had perceptions of like, oh, I'm not giving this much support, or I'm not giving, like a year I'm giving too much, or I'm not giving enough. And I think that there were definitely a lot of communication boundaries that were happening. And I actually had a meeting with my supervisor in the beginning of the school year about this, because when I was starting this school year, I actually felt a little overwhelmed because of the fact that, like, now I have my own assigned schools, and I was starting off, and I'm like, all right, how am I gonna take on whatever feedback that I got from when I first started? So I actually sat down with my supervisor. I had everything written out and everything that specifically told what kind of supports I wanted in place. And one of the things was basically like visuals of like protocols that I should follow, that God forbid that situations like that come up, and I was also explaining about like pretty much of how my autism is, and like how there's a lot of good things about with me being autistic, like being very creative, problem solver, being loyal, and being reliable to, especially for the schools that I work with. And then I was also explaining about how sometimes I need clarification of things, or like I need things to be clear when people are communicating with me. So so those was just those things that brought up, and I thought this would be important for people to know, because it's just that it's important to get supports in place, and it doesn't matter boy, girl, woman, young man, like doesn't matter, like there's gotta be supports in place for those for our population.
Absolutely. And I really like how you advocated for yourself by going and making a list. I mean, that was really smart, because sometimes you get in there and the fear takes over and nervousness takes over and all of the things. And if you don't have like what you need to say, then sometimes that can go out the window too. So I like that you did that. And plus, it was probably easier for them to understand how to help you. If you come kind of knowing your skill set, knowing your challenges, to be able to say, this is where I might need assistance. Like you said, clarity, so important
Yeah.
in general communication overall. It is the truth. And I think that that's something, especially with like acronyms and abbreviations, we get away from that clear intention of knowing what something means, and things like that. As autistic woman in the workplace, what kind of maybe like role modeling or mentoring are you doing for the students? Like how do you see yourself in that position personally, like growing and nurturing that?
So the biggest thing that I love with my role so much is the fact that I am modeling a lot of like more of the behaviors that like, or even just skills in general, like social skills, coping skills, even to like pretty much anything that will help. The goal is to help enhance a individual's quality of life. That's the goal, whether it be from independence to gaining skills, like as I've mentioned, like social skills, coping, emotional skills, like anything like that, to where pretty much where I'm also training teachers, families, uh, therapists that work in the schools, you name it, to where they learn how to incorporate like inclusive strategies in the classroom, like that, like such as where peers are interacting with each other, like more of like, in a way, like pretty much like incorporating naturalistic approaches, like when there's situations that come up, like I'll model for a teacher to teach a child, like, okay, I know that this activity can may be difficult, but remember we went over strategies that you can use to overcome when difficult activities come ahead. So you can always ask for help. You can always, like, pretty much like things like that, to make sure that, it's a good way to practice with the kid that, like, how there's strategies that we've been practicing, and like when real life situations come up that it could be applied with. So, but especially for like the families and stuff, like how the goal in my role is making sure that like skills and stuff are being generalized from between home and school. So I would like, for me, like I always would make sure that pretty much like every month I'm always reaching out to families about like that I have on my caseload, like how are things going for the student at home? Has the teacher communicate with you about what's been working in school? Because whatever's been working in school, we can generalize it to home and vice versa. So it's just really important to where that everybody is on the same page, and I love it about my role because I work with everybody. I don't just work with students. Like it's
Yeah.
just because it truly does take a village to impact one kid's life.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about the other teachers or the admin? Like, how do they take the information? Are they excited to take it? Are they still in, that learning process? I guess having you there as an autistic is so much better for them to kind of have that coaching experience through.
So the funny thing, when I started out this school year with my assigned schools, which by the way, there's only 8 weeks of school left. So I'm about to finish my first year being a behavior specialist. So it's huge. I to me, like the way that I explained it to my schools, like kind of how I disclosed myself, is that I told them that I can relate to students on a personal level. That's pretty much how I explained it to them, and how like I explained to them that how I'm very creative, I'm a problem solver, I am reliable to teachers and stuff. Like I always will make sure to schedule time to be at the classrooms that need support and stuff. And like if there's additional days that like I will even squeeze in like additional days if I'm able to, because that's where the whole flexibility comes in. But yeah,
Mhm.
if I'm able to, then I would do that. But yeah, I actually had one school where I was able to explain it enough that they understood the word neurodivergent, and that's pretty much how I disclosed myself in a way like that, is that saying that I'm neurodivergent, and how like I have a different way of thinking, and it's a good thing. So I and it was very accepting by by those admin that I still work with and everything. So it's
I
made
love
such a huge
that.
difference.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that situation for you. And, I hope that people can start to learn how to incorporate inclusion in their workplaces and things like that. Let's talk a little bit about, as much as you want to, of course, like, your hobbies, your personal things that you're doing, anything like that you might be interested, like the blog. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Cool. So I've been running a blog website since 2019. It is called the World of Autism. I was inspired by my English professor at my community college. And I'm going to say this was when I was living in New Jersey, because I grew up in New Jersey before I was living in Florida. That I, my English professor, this was in my social media course, and she was telling me about how I should create a website it that in which I would share my journey on. And so that's kind of where it all started, was from that.
Wow.
And my mom even encouraged me too to do that. So I did that, and it kind of expanded ever since then, especially once 2020 hit, where with COVID and everything, that's where it hit in regards to where I was expanding it to not just being my own journey, but calling it as the world of autism, in which like there's experiences from autistic and neurodiverse individuals from all over. So I've had it where I have guest stories, like, and I give choices to people, just like I do as a behavior specialist for students, like how I give choices to them on how they want to approach or present something. Same thing for my blog website. I pretty much give choices to people of how they want to share their story. Either they can have a written guest blog story where they would just type it and I would incorporate it, or I would do like I do today. I do a whole podcast series on my blog website, and I'll create a blog story for that too, because everybody has equal opportunities to be able to share their journey, to share their story, because it is very informative for families, for teachers, therapists, professionals, you name it. And so, and it's not even just like with people's voices being heard, it's also like where it's also for educational purposes where people can learn more about like therapy services to even just like recommendations of like conferences or books or even like specific topics like about picky eating to stimming to like pretty much all the well-known topics that you would hear about, like you would just also hear from my website as well. So there's a lot of different things that are happening. And I also do have a keynote speaker page because I have presented at conferences before. So for anybody that wants to check that out, make sure you check that out too.
Oh, I love that. That's a wonderful. And what about, I was just thinking when you were talking, do you have like any mentors or people that you've kind of looked up to along the way? I'd love to hear about that.
Sure. So it actually was when I was in sixth grade. And this was when I finally learned that I was autistic, even though I was autistic very early on. I It was through Dr. Temple Grandin. She's a well-known autistic professor. Uh, After learning from her, like watching her documentary and everything, like that's where she really became my mentor in terms of like advocating for the community. And it got to the point where when I was 16 years old, that was when it was the very first time I shared my journey to the online world, because I didn't really share it online at all. I wasn't really that much on social media platforms till I was 16. So I pretty much from there, like ever since then, that really picked up for me about like, okay, I really want to help the neurodiverse population so much. And it's pretty much geared me towards like my careers today. Because, and I'll tell you this, like that I've been working, and this has been a proud thing for me because I've reached 5 years now that I've been working more than one job. So it is possible for people to do that. So don't ever think that you can't. So
Love
I
that.
yeah,
Oh, that's fantastic. And Temple is such a pioneer and such a dear, dear like person. She's going to be in Salt Lake in just a few days, and I'm really hoping I get to go and meet her and finally see her in person. Because I've had her on the show, I've talked to her
yeah.
through emails and stuff, but no, I'd love to really just be able to. I'm a hugger. She probably isn't, but
I
that's
actually,
okay.
same thing. I met her. I actually did meet her for the first time in person. This was in 2009, 1918, about a few years ago. I met her when I was in New Jersey. I was still working as a teacher assistant at the time. I just got into the school district for the first time ever. So I'm like, it was really exciting. I watched her. I was at a my dad's family friend who runs a autism organization. It was called Faces for Autism. They had Temple Grandin come to speak and everything, and I got to meet her in person while I was getting I got one of her books and I got signed and everything. So it was amazing.
I love that. Yeah. Well, and there's so much to be said now. I mean, we're basically following in her footsteps and just really trying to help educate and teach and woohoo for us.
Right?
So yeah, and it what a magical and special journey to be on and to be able to say like we're impacting more than just our own families, our own communities. Like, we're on this global effort to just really try to reach, this huge initiative of people to make a difference, make a change, to open people's eyes to the beauty, the amazing abilities that humans can have when they're given the belief that they can be something bigger than themselves.
Absolutely.
Love that. What are your plans moving forward? What's next?
uh it's pretty much where I'm still expanding myself, like with different organizations, like pretty much trying to partner up so much that to be able to provide like even more resources for families and for teachers, etc. I'm also like, I'm even just also like professionally growing my own career, like in regards to where I keep going for more certifications and everything, because I feel like that really helps a lot in regards to like even just for like credential purposes of how like I'm able to pretty much like give the resources I do because of my background. So it's not even just like personal, but also like professional too. And it makes it really important. Like I have like there's a organization here in Florida called All Friends Network. I've been partnering up a lot with the CEO. His name is Trevor, and he has cerebral palsy, and he runs this organization because he wanted for neurodiverse people to be involved and make friendships and everything. So there's been a lot of like partnerships going on for me in regards to like the resources that could be provided for families and stuff, and knowing like there are services, especially even for those who are above age 18, because it's really important that there always should be services even beyond that age. So
Yeah. And Florida has a lot of actually really great ones. They have Happy and Employ You that are out there, and some really good other, the Dan Marino Foundation. I just
yes.
get emails from them all the time. They're doing some an autism events sometime like in the next few days, I think. So if you don't know about it, go check it out. I don't know where they're at, and I don't know much about Florida, so that's all. I just get the emails. I'm so glad that we got to catch up and chat about, what's been happening since we last had you on the show, and kind of where you're going. And you've had so much growth, and I'm so excited and proud of you, and happy to be your friend and to be, going on this journey and kind of partnering up with you and being able to do all of these things together like this.
Yeah, same with you.
It's amazing. It's amazing what we can do when we put our minds to it. Even better what we can do when we join other people in with us and we start to really see change happening. So yeah, everyone, please go check out the World of Autism, and make sure you follow Michelle on her social medias. Hopefully everything will go as planned with this first recording done on StreamYard today. So we'll get all the good stuff in the show notes for everyone. Anything else that you can think of that's going on or you want to talk about?
I just want to let people know that don't ever stop following your dreams, because I know that like for a lot of autistic people, like, we get so much setback because of perceptions that are from society and everything, but don't let that get to you, because you're able to do a lot more than you think that you can. Like as I've shared myself, like I went from being a nonverbal autistic who was pretty much in her own world and everything, to where I graduated with a 4-year degree, working multiple jobs for the past few years now, to even being like board members for organizations. So do not give up on your dreams.
I love that, Michelle. Thank you so much. And someday we'll be able to get together and meet each other in person too. I just can't wait for that day
I
when,
know.
one of these days, like now that we have the nonprofit up and running, I'm not really up and running, we have it established, then I'm really hoping, and my husband does too, that we can come together somewhere and have an in-person event. I think it would be just the most amazing thing we could do. So
I agree.
thank you. Thank you for being a support to your community, to your schools, supporting me on this journey and my show and my listeners. So it's just been such an honor and a pleasure to have you. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for having me on again. And then I love our friendship and the collaborations that we've been doing for so long.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. And, I'll air this before our events coming up. So, everyone, when you're at the end of this podcast, please go over to the International Autism Summit 2024. You can find it, it's on the Purdue event website, PODUTY. And we are going to have such an amazing 2 days, 20 hours of advocates from around the world, panel discussions. Everybody gets involved. They are asking questions in the comment section and being engaged. And just, I couldn't be more excited to see what's going to come about for this new exciting international summit. Wow.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too, especially from people like coming from all over. Like it's
Yeah.
huge.
Oh, it's going to be such a neat way to network and to establish, connections and, like you said, partnerships around the globe. So, woohoo! Yay to
Yep.
us. And Michelle will be a speaker. So please make sure that you go and get your tickets. I'll also say that there will be a special ticket sale April 2nd on World Autism Awareness Day. So make sure to tune back in. And until then, everyone take care. Thank you so much. Bye.